Carries unanimously. Staff, minor work report.
Yes. So in the last month, 10 minor works were approved, and addresses, application numbers, and a brief description are available in the meeting agenda, and full applications can be viewed on the city's website.
Thank you very much. The COA Committee is a quasi-judicial body governed by North Carolina general statutes and the city's Unified Development Ordinance. We are authorized to hear requests for certificates of appropriateness. In hearing cases, the committee conducts a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means this is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this committee must make its decisions. These rules are different from some other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases, which are legislative in nature. The committee's decisions are constrained by the standard of review set forth in state law and the Unified Development Ordinance and the facts presented at the hearings. The committee hears and considers evidence presented at the hearing and applies the standards set forth in state law and the city's ordinance. The committee must base its decisions upon competent material and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standard and not personal preference or opinion. Participation in today's hearings is limited. The meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Witnesses may testify as to facts to which they are competent to testify so long as those facts relate to the legal standard. In addition, lay or non-expert witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, the committee needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts on traffic safety. We will now conduct the evidentiary hearings on today's agenda. The first matter is COA 0126-2025, 407 Cutler Street. I recognize staff for their presentation. First, let me introduce. Yes, I'm getting the hang of it as I'm about to, come off the commission. Let me swear staff in for their evidentiary presentations. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Now we'll proceed with 407 Cutler.
Sure. So as you just mentioned, this is case 126-2025 for 407 Cutler Street. It is located in the Boylan Heights Historic District, and as you can see from the map here, it's just one property south of the intersection of Cutler with McCullough. The nature of the request is to construct a dormer addition, alter the rear fenestration, remove a non-historic window on the front elevation, install a new window, and install a balcony. So this is a view of the property from Cutler Street. And just walking around, this is a view at the end of the driveway. You'll notice that there is a lot of foliage, so it is a little difficult to see some parts of the house. This is the view of the south facade. If you take those two photos and stitch them together, that would give you the full picture. This is a view of the rear facade and a detail of the existing rear dormer that is proposed to be converted to a balcony. Another view of the rear facade, just the other side of the tree. And the north facade, which is incredibly difficult to see. And back to the front. So a very abbreviated summary of staff concerns this is up to you to decide, but potentially the alteration of a character-defining roof form and standard material details and specifications that are typically provided as conditions. And in the staff report, it was noted that a somewhat similar application had been submitted in the past. Many years ago, Commissioner Allen asked for a copy of that application, so I do have that for you to review today. In addition to the original application materials, I have the materials that they provided at that meeting and the certified record, which is a term we used to use to mean the staff report, the minutes, and the decision all in one.
All right, thank you. I'll recognize the applicant for their presentation. I'm just, not even paying attention, looking at the record. My apologies. Go ahead, please introduce yourself, and we'll begin.
Do you want to swear us in?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce everyone, and then we'll get to that.
Okay. Ashley Morris with Pell Street Studio, architect.
And I'm Steve Derrick. I'm the property owner.
And I'm Kim Derrick, and I am too.
All right, go ahead and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may proceed.
So we brought some extra information.
Please speak into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Extra information per the staff comments about that we didn't really show a hip roof that had 4 sides of dormers. So we included some in the application or in this extra information. A lot of the houses for that 4th dormer, the rear of the house was extended for an addition, so there isn't really a 4th dormer. But we did find a few, and then I put in a couple that had 3 dormers, which I think is more important that there's 2 sides in the front, which is what we would see from the street. From the photos, as you can tell, it's tall, it's covered with trees, it's tight to the neighbors. So we reduced the size of the dormers down so that the main hip roof line stays intact. And we shallowed the pitch of the gable roof of those new side dormers too, to kind of just keep them as being new and also keep them being smaller in size. Oh, and then the last one was just an aerial version of kind of where their part of the neighborhood is. And you can see all the various different roof forms, dormers, pop-outs, projections, additions, just to give context to where we are. But we're happy to take any questions or concerns. I know the application was denied in 2001, and that's way before my time here. So, but it was my understanding.
The property owners at that time.
Yeah, and it was my understanding that from those guidelines, you really were only supposed to do stuff to the rear of the house. So I think 2025 advancements, new guidelines. So hopefully you'll take consideration of that.
All right, thank you. Before we get to questions, are there any members of the public who wish to provide comment on the application? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed with committee questions. Any questions from the committee? Okay. In that case, we'll close the evidentiary hearing and proceed with committee discussion. You can have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's a good application. Is this thing on?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you. When I first saw it, I was actually I was like, oh, I'm going to have probably some issues with the window next to the front door, but I feel like the evidence showing most of the windows or most of the doors or most of the houses, properties near this house, not having the window engaged with the door convinced me that the proposed change made sense. So I don't have an issue with that. I know they've provided some new evidence, and that is very helpful, but I'm struggling with the side dormers, and it's mainly because the shape of the roof is more of a pyramidal hip rather than an elongated hip, and most of the examples, accommodate a side dormer because there's more roof area, and it does make sense. I think even if you look in this aerial exhibit that was provided, it's where you can see the original form of the house being more of a square at the roof. There's one example where there's side kind of dormers, but then there's no front dormer or rear dormer. So that's like kind of the outlier. But, and then with that said, the side dormer is, I think, larger and more prominent than the front-facing dormer, which is kind of they have some great photos in the application of that are, decades old, showing that kind of prominent front dormer. So I feel like maybe adding a broader dormer on each side, it seems like a pretty significant change to the character of the roof. I don't know if my colleagues here have any.
I'm going to agree with you, Rob, on that point about the dormers, and just call out guideline 2.5.10. It's not appropriate to introduce new roof features such as skylights, dormers, or vents if they will compromise the historic roof design or damage character-defining roof materials or the character of the historic district or landmark. And I do think the size, scale, and proportion of those dormers changes the existing roof form in a dramatic way to make it not congruous.
Yeah.
I think there were lots of examples provided that do show 3 dormers, but I didn't see any evidence to show dormers of this scale on 3 sides or 2 sides where the new dormers are proposed. If they are 3, they're the size of the single window, which we see on the front of this house, or just 2 windows side by side, but not sidewalls in addition to that.
Yeah. And if they're, I think there's one example, 518 South Boylan, where it's a wider dormer, but it's also just a shed dormer in a much longer plane of roof. So,
Right.
And again, that was, before any of our time on this committee also. So, I mean, it's helpful evidence, but
Right.
we don't necessarily have to say, well, this is applicable in this case.
Lauren, any comments?
Sure. I do think there's a lot of good evidence here, and I think we know in this district there's a wide variety of strategies for getting additional space into these houses. I do think that the side dormers appear large in a way, especially in combination with the rear dormer. Where are you guys? Where it starts to feel like there's a second hipped roof, like elevated from the original pyramidal roof, because they're approaching that top roof line kind of all near the same point. I think that's part of why it's feeling a little incongruous to me, and also in seeing the old application, which has been approved and was also approved on conditions of the 2 side dormers not being present under different guidelines, definitely. But seeing those disapproved dormers be sort of what I would consider to be in an application that had, in a hypothetical application submitted today, feel like a more congruous scale, makes these feel even more incongruous kind of by comparison. So I do think that while there's lots of good evidence here, I do think that the composition of the whole starts to feel a bit like it's pulling away from the historic nature of the roof line.
Agree.
Staff, do we have a meeting date set for the December meeting?
We
I
will
know it's usually our 2-day marathon meeting.
Yes. So the meeting officially December 11th. We have tentatively scheduled a date for the 12th in the event that we receive a number of applications that need 2 meetings. So the 11th is the primary
Official
date.
date, okay. Given this is the applicant's first time before us, listening to all the comments from the committee, I think a deferral to the December meeting is appropriate.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and make that motion to defer the application to the December 11, 2025 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So the application's been deferred, as you can tell, to the December meeting. You've heard all our comments, so hopefully we can come back at the December meeting with either additional evidence or a different design. So, thank you. Okay, next application is COA 132-2025, 703 North Bloodworth Street. I'll recognize staff for their presentation.
All right, this is case COA 132-2025. The address is 703 North Bloodworth Street in the Oakwood Historic District. The request is to remove an existing 3-foot fence and install a 4-foot fence in the same footprint, to remove an existing front porch balustrade and construct a decorative stonework balustrade in the same location. You can see this is a corner property. And this is a view of the front facade from Bloodworth Street. A detail of that front porch area proposed for alteration, and a view from on the front porch itself. That sort of corner appearance of the property, and then moving down the side street, Pace Street, to get a look at the existing fence line. Some details here. You can see it's right up on the sidewalk, which appears to be the property line. Summary of staff concerns is that no historic evidence was provided to support the alteration of the front balustrade design on the subject property, which may be creating a false sense of history. And the new street side yard fence is proposed to be taller than 42 inches and less than 65% transparent.
All right, thank you. Recognize the applicant for their presentation. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Day Peak.
Jason McKenzie.
All right, you all the property owners?
Yes.
All right, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and swear you both in, and then we'll proceed. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you may proceed.
We don't have any additional pictures or evidence that we brought with us, hoping that the packet, answers the initial issues. So we'll, leave ourselves open for question if there are additional details you'd like.
Okay, sure. I just have to do this as a formality. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comment on the application? Hearing none, we'll proceed with committee questions.
I'll start. Well, first comment, this is one of my favorite houses in Raleigh, so congratulations on being an occupant of it. It's a beautiful house. I love the scale and detailing of it. I saw it also brought together a good application. And again, like I was saying, in the first application, I was reading through the fence and I was like, I don't know. And then I saw your photos. I think pretty faithful proposal there. And we'll obviously probably have some comments discussing the fence. But one of the comments about the fence was reuse of the existing post holes. I don't know if you had a chance to read the staff report, but the staff report there was a proposed condition of reusing the existing post holes, and just wanted to ask if that would be a condition that you would be agreeable to.
Yeah, I don't know construction-wise if that would pose a challenge to the contractors, but I would imagine there would be no issue with keeping it in the same holes that they have now.
Except for the ones that are rotten.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'll add that, and I'm going off memory here without looking at the report right at this second, but it was to clarify whether or not you were planning to use the existing posts or replace them likely in kind, and you're nodding yes, so I think that's an affirmative. But
that's right. Yeah.
The idea would really be that the holes that are already there, remove the posts and concrete that's there, would enable essentially tree protection and root protection from not digging new holes is essentially where that comment is based in, and I hope that seems reasonable to me. But
agreed. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question was, you had that Matthew Brown excerpt in the application. It's good to have that. So can you tell me where that came from? What form of report that's from?
Sure.
And this is in reference to the balustrade on the front. Right.
Actually, I don't think it's part of a history or a book he's created. I know that I'm on the board for the Oakwood Historic Commission, and those are generally provided when owners buy the property, so they have a knowledge of the history of the home, and they're used in the descriptions for the candlelight tour. They're based on his personal research, but I can find out what his primary evidence might be, if that's helpful.
Yeah, and your application only has, a couple of parts of a request to it, but that the language in that does say it was probably also sawn work. So I don't know if you have other evidence you could provide, because especially when I look at this photo right here, yeah, there's some beautiful sawn work kind of at the capital of the columns, but it seems feasible that just the straight line balustrade could be original. And so what we might be looking for is just some more evidence of sawn work.
So we did an exhaustive search in the archives, and there are no photos that exist to prove it. So we were hoping that the pictures of the other brick structures in our neighborhood, which all have the same sawn work that we're requesting, would be further evidence of the consistent use. And again, this is a layperson's statement, but the use of the sawn work at the top would suggest that the sawn work was used, at least in design for a portion of the front porch already.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see that the evidence or the examples you provided are all brick. I think historically could be a leap, but I think it's like a good common thread to present. So thanks for pointing that out. I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions from the committee? Melissa? No? Lauren? All right, we'll close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and move to committee discussion. Y'all can have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any discussion?
Based on my comments, thoughts on the balustrade?
I think I'm erring with the staff concern that without real evidence of it, we're at risk of false historic appearance, and I think I wouldn't.
Can you speak up?
Oh, sorry. I'm double
Yeah,
today.
you're double muted.
Yeah, I'm already soft-spoken, and then there's a mask. So, yeah, I think with the, I'm siding with staff concern on this, where without evidence, either photographic or otherwise, we would probably be in danger of creating a false historic appearance here, and replacing something that may have been it may historically have been straight balusters. We just don't have evidence either way, so I don't feel like I could support doing that.
Are we to take Mr. Brown's paragraph as evidence, of a professional into the evidence?
I think it's a
record
question
as
for
historic
staff.
professional?
Mr. Brown's.
I think, and this might be more a question for Patrick, it is evidence. The weight you provide it is up to you.
I think he's saying the original balustrade was probably also of sawn work, and we were provided examples of similar properties that historically contained sawn work. So I would be of the inclination to approve.
And just to remind the committee, the evidence that we have is the evidence that's before us, and there's no contrary evidence, but this is the evidence that's before us, and then you also have what's in the staff report as well, and that's what we're considering as a whole.
Let me just return back to, I'm going to look back at the staff report language really quickly just to make sure I'm familiar. It is difficult because staff specifically calls out photographic or physical evidence. And typically that's what we would be receiving. I'm not specifically thinking that Matthew Brown's statement isn't necessarily material. I just don't feel strong enough that it is supportive evidence. I think partially also that's because there's not anything to pattern after other than the upper section. It would be largely conjecture what that would have been. And up to artistic interpretation, craftsman interpretation.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it. I'm trying to study some of the other examples provided, and I think when I originally made the comment that it seems reasonable to believe that the existing balustrade is original. So on this house, they are they're double, very thin linear like the columns themselves are double posts. On the other examples, it's the single post. It's important because I think the sawn options fit a lot better between the single post columns and as opposed to the doubles. I know, Mr. Chair, you said that yes, the statement is provided as evidence, but so is the existing photos as well. So are the existing photos, and I think that's what I'm struggling to reconcile.
I have a question for staff attorney. I understand we are not supposed to bring evidence forward, but is the character essay, not the character essay, but the Oakwood HOD designation report, are we allowed to reference information from that report?
Yes, yeah, no problem.
Okay. I am reading, this is from...
Speak up a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. From the Oakwood HOD designation report under each house. So this is on page 703 North Bloodworth Street. Under the description, it does say Julius Lewis and Company House, 1-story, hip-roofed, common bond, brick Victorian house with L-shaped facade. I was over this. 2-bay porch has slender paired square section posts with scroll sawn brackets, mid-20th century frame additions and circle rear courtyard, blah, blah, blah. But I do think we see slender paired square section posts with scroll sawn brackets. I guess that's just the posts and the brackets. That doesn't tell us. Sorry, never mind.
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
still evidence.
Just say it's double.
Yes. I think that's where I'm getting hung up in it, is that if this, for instance, if you already had the scroll work there and it was in terrible condition and we needed to replace it, we would ask you to replace it in like kind exactly as it was. We have no way to guide what you're putting there other than that it would be an artistic interpretation of what could possibly have been there, or it's an amalgamation of the things around you and the surroundings, which, we have no way to determine whether it is the historic thing that would have been there. What we do have is what you currently have, and I'm not sure, pardon me if I missed it, but was it determined that these verticals are definitely not original? Like they were, okay.
No.
So they're not like obviously new.
Well, we've not seen evidence of that yet.
Yeah, okay.
It could be provable if it exists.
Yeah, I think that would also be a potential piece of evidence that would, lead us down that path better, is if there was evidence that what's here is not original and we're not having that removed in place of something that is hard to guide. I think we all want the goal of this house to be as historic as possible, is what we want. And if scrollwork is part of its story, we definitely want to support it. I just don't see, for me, like a firm feeling ground of how to guide that forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lauren.
All right, how about the fence? Talk about that.
The guidelines are pretty clear with the 42-inch height. I'll give the applicants a benefit of the doubt. They're slightly disadvantaged being on a corner location. Staff remind me, the side yard would still need, the interpretation of the guidelines would be the 42-inch height, correct?
Yes, unless it's behind the sidewall of the house.
Yeah. Okay. So that would mean at the very rear of the property, then stepping in to the sidewall of the house before going to, say, a privacy fence or something.
Yes, front and street side yards.
Got it.
Basically follow the sidewall, front wall and sidewalls of the house and draw that invisible line back. And if it's behind that line, interior to the lot, that's where that transition would occur.
Okay.
Yeah, bring the applicants back up to the podium and just reopen the evidence you're hearing and ask, would you all like additional time to find evidence to support what you want to do with the balustrade or not?
Been looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, 1875 is a hard time to find good pictures. So, everything that we have provided is all we know to provide. One thing I'll point out, if I could, is just that the proposal, I understood your point about not having a guideline for how it should appear. Our proposal was to exactly match what was above, so that it would, match in that way. At least we know that it matched what historically is there already.
Sure.
We were, grappling with that as well and felt like that seemed to be consistent with how it was being handled with the other brick properties. Yeah, we have no other evidence we can provide.
So let me just clarify, you wanted to replace and match what's there or match in common with what's around you?
So the sawnwork at the top of the porch, that urn shape look can be matched and placed on the railing itself, and so we were planning on matching it so that it was consistent with the historic sawnwork that's still there. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have evidence that what's currently there is like deteriorating or in bad condition? Okay.
No.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you. Young, have a seat.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll just go ahead and say up front, I'm not comfortable approving the change to the balustrade. based on the evidence we've received. So
Yeah,
I would be okay with, if the proposal was amended to remove that scope of the work, and then it's just the fence, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I was just about to ask Patrick if we could approve in part and deny in part what's before us, or is it just?
The answer is yes, you can, but typically the applicant would amend the application, withdraw part of the application. That's a cleaner
Yeah,
way
I
to do it.
understand. Yeah, so let me have the applicant come back up. Sorry, this up and down, up and down. So it appears that the way that the committee is going is that there's not enough evidence for the committee to approve changing the balustrade, but we can move forward with the fence subject to the conditions in the staff report. Given that information, would you all be willing to amend your application to remove the balustrade changes, but then proceed forward with the fence?
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
If we do find more evidence, though,
You can always come back.
but to go through the process again,
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
But at this point, it would be a minor application, is that correct?
Yeah, staff will have to answer that.
No, if you can't approve the application as a committee, we definitely don't have the authority to make that determination.
No, if they provided a photo or some other definitive evidence and wanted to replicate that balustrade, yes, I think we would be able to approve it as a minor work.
Understood. I get the question now. Yes.
And for the applicant, we could also, we could defer this application to December to give you time to try to collect more evidence. That would be Mr. Chair, that would be an alternative.
That is another option, and I did provide that option, but it
I'm
appeared
sorry.
that y'all kind of didn't want to wait.
well, the fence is falling down, and our dogs are going to get out. That's a big part of this. So, anyway,
What he means is we'll amend so that the fence portion can move forward. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Given that information, Rob, you want to go ahead and make a motion? Or I have the staff report in front of me if you want.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. Based on the evidence presented by the applicant and the information presented in the staff report, I move that and based on the amended application, I move that the amended application be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the existing post holes be reused wherever possible, and that any new post holes in a critical root zone be dug manually, and tree roots larger than 1-inch caliper that are encountered while digging shall receive a clean final cut using tools designed for the purpose, such as loppers. Number 2, that the fence have a maximum height of 42 inches. 3, that the following materials and specifications be submitted to and approved by staff prior to issuance of the blue placard. A, revised fence elevation drawing or rendering. And is B, is that related to the balustrade or no? Okay, so then we'll just leave it at 3A. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The application has been approved. The amended application has been approved subject to the stated conditions. The application's approval will be final at next month's, in December's meeting when the minutes are approved and signed. So, thank you.
great. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, next on the agenda, any other business to come before the committee? Staff? Anything?
No, we will keep you posted on December COA dates. The application deadline is Monday, so we should have a good idea of what that will look like very soon.
All right, great. Hearing nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.